Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about the possibility of the Washington football team trading up for their quarterback of the future in the 2021 NFL Draft, and we'll also talk about how the Sam Darnold trade to the Carolina Panthers affects our chances of landing our quarterback of the future. We'll also go through a couple players we could trade up for and how much it would take to get them. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. So let's get right into the video. So as most of you guys know, yesterday the Jets traded quarterback Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers for a 2021 6th-round pick and a 2nd and 4th-round pick in 2022, and that takes one of the teams off the board that was looking for a quarterback upgrade. They traded for Sam Darnold, and that really increases the chances of a team like maybe Washington or the Patriots that were outside of the top 10. It increases their chances of landing one of these quarterbacks because, as you guys see in this mock draft simulator, Trevor Lawrence went 1, which everyone knows that's going to happen. Same thing with Zach Wilson. It looks like that's going to be the case at number 2. Even Joe Douglas said he said they're taking a quarterback today. And then Mac Jones at 3, this has been picking up a lot of steam, and I personally do not think he's the 3rd best quarterback in this draft, but it is, more of a scheme fit in San Francisco. So if he goes 3, that means there's 3 quarterbacks in the first 3 picks. And at 4, you have a team in the Falcons that, they could go quarterback. Matt Ryan is getting up there in age, but is still playing some really good football. And they're in a really good spot because they could either take a quarterback and develop him behind Matt Ryan. They could take one of the best players in the draft in Kyle Pitts and, pair him with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, or they could trade back for a team that wants to trade up for the quarterback. And then after that, the Bengals aren't going to take a quarterback. Same thing with the Dolphins. I don't think the Lions are going to take a quarterback. Same thing with the Panthers. And at 9 is one of the teams that you would probably have to jump ahead of. And same thing with the Patriots at 15. Going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. And Ron Rivera in the past, and after this we'll go through some of the players they could trade up for, but Ron Rivera in the past, or this offseason, has said he doesn't want to mortgage the future to get their franchise guy, or to get a quarterback this year. And I do think going up to number 4 from 19, so moving up 15 spots, definitely could be mortgaging the future. You saw what the 49ers gave up. They gave up 3 firsts and a 3rd to move up 9 spots. We would probably have to give up a similar amount to go to number 4. So I personally I don't know if I would do that. I know there's some people that would really like to do that, but I think a better spot would be moving up to, in that 7 to 10 range. If you're confident, if you're picking, if the Lions are picking at 7 and Justin Fields and Trey Lance are still on the board, then maybe you call them and trade up for them if they really do like them. I'm not necessarily in love with either of them, but what I do think is if they do draft Trey Lance or even Justin Fields, I do think they will sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year. Definitely Trey Lance. He's more of a developmental guy. Justin Fields, I think he's more ready right now for the NFL than Trey Lance is, but I still think he's probably going to need some time. You look at the two of them, Trey Lance and Justin Fields. Trey Lance obviously, played at North Dakota State this past year. Not this past year. This past year he only played 1 game because of the pandemic, but the year before had a really good year, 28 touchdowns, no interceptions, ran kind of a pro-style offense at North Dakota State, has a good, frame, 6'4", 226 pounds, also a really good running threat, 1,100 yards this past season, 14 touchdowns. Does have a little bit of accuracy issues, but that can definitely be fixed sitting behind a quarterback for a year, and I think he would be a good pick. It's just going to be tough. I don't want to go up to number 4 for a quarterback that is so uncertain in Trey Lance. He has a lot of upside, but he's also, hasn't had many NFL starts, and that is a red flag with quarterbacks. That's why you definitely don't want him starting year 1, especially in the beginning. Haskins didn't have many starts, and in college, and he got thrusted into a situation where he had to play in the first few weeks, and that really didn't bode well for him. And same thing with someone like Mitch Trubisky, didn't have many starts in college. So if you do draft a guy that didn't have many starts in college, you want to sit him for a year, and I think Washington will do a good job developing whatever quarterback they take, especially if it's in the first round. And another possibility could be Justin Fields. Trey Lance, if he doesn't go number 4, he could be the next quarterback off the board, because you look at these picks right here. Atlanta, I think they're leaning Trey Lance if they do go a quarterback. If they don't, it'll probably be Kyle Pitts or a trade back. Like I said, the Bengals, Dolphins likely won't take a quarterback. So really, you want to jump up ahead of the Broncos, the Patriots, and other teams that are looking for an upgrade at quarterback. And you could possibly trade to number 7 or 8 if you feel a little bit more comfortable and land one of these guys. But you also run the risk of someone trading up all the way to 5 and leapfrogging you, and you're left with no quarterback. So it is a big risk, but you look at someone like Justin Fields, another dual threat guy. 2019 had a 67% completion percentage, 41 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, was an absolute beast. This past season had a little bit, didn't play as great, still played pretty well, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 2,100 yards, and they didn't play as many games, so that's why the numbers are a little bit down. And he's also a dual threat quarterback, and he didn't just play at Ohio State. He started his collegiate career at Georgia, and played a little bit behind Jake Fromm and then transferred. So that's just something to keep in mind right there. So let's real quick play this out. So you look at number 4. If someone doesn't trade up for a quarterback, so you're at number 4, let's say the Falcons draft Kyle Pitts, because there has been some rumors. Adam Schefter tweeted this out today. He said, with teams locked into the first 3 overall picks, the Atlanta Falcons now have received trade calls from multiple teams and are open to moving out of the number 4 spot. And that shouldn't come to a surprise of a lot of people, because they have a lot of options, so they could trade back, could take a quarterback. But let's assume no one does trade up for number 4, which if I'm Washington, it's really, really hard to, move up from 19 all the way to 4. You're likely going to have to give up this year's first and a couple other firsts, and maybe even more. If you move up to 7, it's going to be a lot less, because you're going to be getting, the 4th or 5th quarterback off the board. And, you're probably still going to have to give up this year's first and next year's first and more, but it's a lot less than if you have to move up to 4. And it's still giving up a lot, though. You have to keep that in mind. Let me know in the comments down below if you're willing to, part ways with this year's first and next year's first to go for quarterbacks. So, look right here. We're at number 7 on the board, and Trey Lance is still available, and Justin Fields is still available at that number 7 pick. So you could trade to number 7 and get your guy, assuming no one, leapfrogs you. I still think there's a possibility Washington does this, but also, Keim has been mentioning it for a while. There is also a good chance they draft a quarterback in the day 2, so either 2nd or 3rd round. But I do think if they see a guy like Justin Fields or Trey Lance start to fall, I think they will be willing to trade up, because you don't want to be in this same exact situation next year where, let's say they win 9 games, 9-10 games, they win the division, maybe even win a playoff game, but Fitzpatrick is getting up there in age, and you're picking at in the 20s, maybe 21, 22, or later. And again, there's not many great quarterbacks in free agency. You're going to be in that same situation. So this year, it's definitely possible that they go after their quarterback, but they will have to avoid teams like the Broncos, Patriots, and a couple other teams. There's always those surprise teams that might want to get their quarterback of the future. So going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out if Washington does, move up and get their guy, because I don't think they're going to wait for a quarterback to come to them at 19. I think if they start to see a guy fall, at the very least, they're going to try to leapfrog the Patriots at 15. I'm okay with them trading up. I just don't think it's a good idea to do it all the way up to number 4. You're really, really giving up a lot. That's just my opinion. I'm fine if they trade up to number 7 through number 10, and I'm also fine if they just stay pat with who they have and maybe draft a mid-round quarterback. So let me know if you guys want to trade up, and if you do want to trade up, how far would you be willing to trade up, and who would you want to select out of Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and maybe even Mac Jones? It's likely that he goes to number 3, but if he doesn't, maybe you want him. So let me know. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.